I flatlined twice on the operating table that night. The doctors told my family to prepare for the worst. But what they didn't know, what none of them knew, was that death would have been kinder than what was waiting for me when I finally opened my eyes. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like to wake up and discover your entire life had been stolen? To find out the two people you trusted most in the world betrayed you in the worst possible way while you were fighting for your life? My name is Harper Lane, and I'm 34 years old. 5 years ago, I woke up from a 3-month coma to discover my husband and sister had not only fallen in love while I was unconscious. They'd gotten married in the same church where I had said my vows just 3 years earlier. If you've ever been betrayed by someone you loved, hit that like button and subscribe. Trust me when I say, this story has an ending they never saw coming. I grew up in a small town in Ohio where everyone knew everyone's business, and family reputations meant everything. I was the eldest daughter of a school teacher and a mechanic, the responsible one, the peacemaker, the one who always made sure everyone else was taken care of. My younger sister, Tessa, was different. She was the golden child, charming, beautiful, and always the center of attention. My parents never said it out loud, but everyone knew she was their favorite. "Harper, why can't you be more like your sister?" My mother would sigh whenever I came home with straight A's instead of a date to the school dance. "You're so serious all the time." But I didn't mind. I loved Tessa fiercely, even when her light sometimes cast a shadow over me. That's what big sisters do, right? They protect, they forgive, they sacrifice. I met Nathan during my sophomore year of college. I was working 2 jobs to pay for my nursing degree, morning shifts at the campus coffee shop and weekend nights at a local diner. He came in every Tuesday and Thursday, ordered the same black coffee, and sat in the corner booth sketching buildings in his notebook. "What are you always drawing?" I finally asked him one rainy Tuesday morning. He looked up, surprised, then turned his sketchbook toward me. "The future," he said with a smile that made my heart skip. "I'm going to design buildings that change the way people live." Nathan was everything I thought I wanted: steady, ambitious, and kind. He was studying architecture and had plans to start his own firm someday. We dated for 2 years, and he proposed the night of my graduation. We married young, just after he finished his degree, and moved into a modest house on the edge of town. Life wasn't glamorous, but it was ours. I worked nights at the hospital. Nathan started his fledgling architecture firm, and we dreamed of building a future together. We talked about children, about traveling, about growing old on a porch swing somewhere quiet. Tessa drifted in and out of our lives during those years, always chasing the next big thing. She'd show up at our doorstep with wild stories and empty pockets, and I'd always find a way to help her. Alone here, a place to stay there. Nathan tolerated her, but I could tell he found her exhausting. "She's using you, Harper," he'd say after she'd leave. "When are you going to stop cleaning up her messes?" "She's my sister," I'd always reply. Family means forgiveness. I had no idea how those words would come back to haunt me. Everything changed the night of December 18th, just before Christmas. I'd picked up an extra shift at the hospital, hoping to earn enough for a special gift for Nathan, a vintage drafting table I'd seen him admiring. The roads were slick with black ice, and I was exhausted after a 12-hour shift in the ER. I remember calling Nathan to tell him I was on my way home. I remember him saying he loved me. I don't remember the crash, just the screech of tires, the blinding headlights coming toward me, and then nothing. Absolute nothing. When I woke up, it was spring. The window of my hospital room was open, and I could smell lilacs. 3 months had vanished like smoke. My body felt foreign, weak and uncooperative. My mind was foggy, but one thing was clear: nothing was as I'd left it. Nathan wasn't there when I opened my eyes. Instead, my mother sat by my bedside, her face etched with worry and something else. Guilt, maybe, or fear. She jumped when she saw me looking at her. "Harper! Oh my God, Harper!" She pressed the call button frantically. "Nurse! Nurse! She's awake!" Everything happened quickly after that. Doctors rushed in, checked my vitals, asked me questions I could barely understand. They told me I'd been in a coma, that the accident had been severe, that they hadn't expected me to wake up. They used words like miraculous and unexpected recovery, but all I wanted to know was one thing: where's Nathan? My mother's eyes filled with tears. She squeezed my hand, but I could feel her pulling away, as if she was bracing for something she couldn't say. "He'll be here soon, sweetheart," she whispered. "Just focus on getting better." Days passed. I struggled through physical therapy, learning to use my muscles again. Nathan never came. My father visited, awkward and distant. Friends from the hospital stopped by with flowers and forced smiles. Everyone seemed to be hiding something. It was Tessa who finally told me the truth. She breezed into my hospital room one afternoon. Her hair perfectly styled, her nails immaculate. She looked radiant, happier than I'd ever seen her. She hugged me, too tightly, and I could smell Nathan's cologne on her skin, the sandalwood scent I'd given him for his birthday. "We have to talk," she said, her voice trembling with excitement. She sat on the edge of my bed and took my hand. Her left hand, where a familiar diamond ring now sparkled, my engagement ring, reset in a flashier setting. "Nathan and I, we're together now. We got married last month." The words didn't make sense. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, the explanation. But there was none. She smiled, almost apologetically, and told me how hard it had been for Nathan, how lonely he was, how they'd found comfort in each other's arms. She said it was fate, that I'd understand someday. "The doctors said you would probably never wake up, Harper. We were all so devastated. Nathan was lost without you. He needed someone, and I was there. It just happened." I didn't cry, I didn't scream, I just felt empty, like the accident had hollowed me out, and all that was left was a shell. I remember looking down at my body, thin, weak, scarred, and wondering if this was even real. Maybe I was still in the coma, maybe this was some twisted nightmare. "Get out," I whispered. "Harper, please, get out," I screamed, my voice raw and unfamiliar. A nurse rushed in, and Tessa backed away, tears in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said. "We never meant to hurt you." The days that followed were a blur of doctors, therapists, and awkward visits from family members who didn't know what to say. My parents tried to be supportive, but I could see the relief in their eyes, relief that Tessa had landed on her feet, that Nathan wasn't alone. No one asked how I felt. No one seemed to care that my world had been stolen while I slept. Nathan finally visited, 2 weeks after I woke up. He stood in the doorway of my room, unable to meet my eyes. "I thought you were gone," he said quietly. "The doctor said, 'Did you even wait for the funeral?' I asked, my voice flat. "Or did you propose to her over my hospital bed?" He flinched. "It wasn't like that. We were both grieving. It just happened." The same words, the same excuse. Like betrayal was something that just happened, like rain or traffic. "The house," I said. "Our house. Who lives there now?" He looked at the floor. "We do, Tessa and I. We can find somewhere else if you..." "Keep it," I said. "I hope you're very happy together." When I was finally discharged, I had nowhere to go. Nathan and Tessa had moved into my house, the house I'd worked so hard to make a home. My old room at my parents' place was now a storage closet. I ended up renting a tiny apartment above a laundromat, using the last of my savings to pay the deposit. The apartment was small and smelled like fabric softener and mildew. The stairs were nearly impossible with my weakened legs. At night, I could hear the machines rumbling below, a constant reminder of how far I had fallen. I spent weeks in a haze, shuffling between physical therapy appointments and job interviews. My body was slow to heal, and my mind was slower. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I replayed every moment of my marriage, searching for signs I'd missed. Clues that Nathan and Tessa had been more than just family. I found none. The betrayal was total, and it was fresh every morning. If you're still with me, take a second to hit that like button. I know this story is hard to hear, but I promise you, it gets better. Sometimes the darkest moments lead to the brightest futures. One morning, about a month after leaving the hospital, I caught a glimpse of myself in the bathroom mirror. I barely recognized the woman staring back at me. Hollow-eyed, defeated, broken. "Is this who you are now?" I asked my reflection. "Is this who you're going to be?" Something inside me refused to accept that ending. Maybe it was stubbornness, or maybe it was the years I'd spent putting everyone else first. But in that moment, I made a decision. I wouldn't let them win. I wouldn't let my story end as a victim. "They took your past," I told myself, "but they don't get to take your future." That same day, I called my old supervisor at the hospital. I couldn't return to my previous position. The physical demands of ER nursing were beyond my capabilities now, but she offered me a part-time administrative role. The pay was less than half of what I'd made before, but it was a start. I threw myself into my recovery with a vengeance. I worked harder than I ever had, pushing my body until it ached, forcing my mind to focus on the future instead of the past. I found a physical therapist who didn't accept my limitations, who pushed me beyond what I thought possible. "Pain is just weakness, leaving the body," he'd say as I struggled through another set of exercises. "I've had enough weakness leave my body to last a lifetime," I'd gasp back. But I didn't quit. Not once. I took a job at a private clinic in the city, working long hours and saving every penny. The commute was exhausting, an hour each way on the bus, but I welcomed the exhaustion. It meant I could sleep at night without dreaming of Nathan and Tessa. I enrolled in night classes, earning certifications in hospital administration and business management. I studied until my eyes burned, fueled by a determination I never knew I possessed. I made new friends, people who knew nothing of my past, who saw me as strong and capable. "You're amazing," my classmate Jen told me one night after study group. "How do you manage to work full-time and still maintain a 4.0 GPA? I smiled. "I have a lot to prove." 6 months after waking from the coma, I ran into my old friend Mia at a coffee shop. She'd been a nurse with me in the ER, one of the few who had visited regularly during my recovery. "Harper, you look incredible," she exclaimed, hugging me tightly. "How are you doing? Really?" For the first time, I told someone the whole truth. Not just about the accident and the betrayal, but about how I felt. The rage, the humiliation, the determination to rebuild. Mia listened without judgment, then said something that changed everything. "You know, the hospital where I work now is looking for someone to overhaul their billing system. With your nursing background and your new admin certifications, you'd be perfect." The position paid nearly twice what I was making at the clinic. It came with benefits, a flexible schedule, and most importantly, respect. I threw myself into the interview process, prepared for weeks, and walked in with a confidence I hadn't felt in years. I got the job. Meanwhile, Nathan and Tessa's fairy tale began to unravel. Word got around that Nathan's firm was struggling. He'd taken out loans to expand, betting on a big contract that fell through. Tessa, never one for stability, started spending more than they could afford. Designer clothes, expensive dinners, lavish vacations documented meticulously on social media. My parents tried to help them, but their savings were limited. The cracks in Nathan and Tessa's perfect life grew wider with every passing month. I heard through mutual friends that they were fighting constantly, that Nathan had started drinking, that Tessa was already bored with domestic life. I watched from a distance, refusing to let bitterness consume me. Instead, I focused on building something of my own. I started a side business, consulting for small medical practices on billing efficiency and patient care systems. It was slow at first, but word spread, and soon I had more clients than I could handle. If you're enjoying this story of resilience and redemption, make sure to subscribe to Family Karmic Revenge for more stories like this one. And leave a comment below if you've ever had to rebuild your life from scratch. I'd love to hear your story. 1 year after the accident, I made a decision that surprised even me. I applied for a small business loan. With my growing consulting business and my hospital salary, I had enough to hire 2 employees and rent a small office space. I named the company Phoenix Medical Consulting, a nod to my own rebirth from the ashes. The risk paid off beyond my wildest expectations. Small medical practices were desperate for help navigating insurance regulations and improving patient care while cutting costs. My unique background as both a nurse and an administrator gave me insights that purely business consultants lacked. Within 6 months, I had to hire 3 more employees. Within a year, we moved to a larger office and expanded our services. 2 years after the accident, I bought my first house. A beautiful, old Victorian on the edge of the city. It needed work, but I poured my heart into every renovation, turning it into a sanctuary. I hosted dinner parties, invited friends and colleagues, and filled the rooms with laughter and love. For the first time since waking from the coma, I felt truly alive. My new life wasn't perfect, but it was mine. I had built it from nothing, with no help from the people who should have supported me most. That knowledge gave me a quiet confidence I'd never had before. Nathan and Tessa, meanwhile, were barely speaking. The stress of financial ruin and Tessa's restlessness had taken their toll. I heard through the grapevine that Nathan was drinking heavily, that Tessa was spending nights at her friends' houses. My parents stopped mentioning them altogether when we spoke on the phone. I didn't take pleasure in their struggles, not exactly, but I couldn't help feeling that karma had come full circle. They had betrayed me at my lowest moment, and now they were facing their own crisis. One evening, as I was leaving my office, I ran into Nathan's former business partner, Michael. We'd met a few times during my marriage, at company functions and holiday parties. He looked surprised to see me. "Harper? Wow, you look amazing." His eyes took in my tailored suit, my confident stance. "I heard you were in a coma? Devastated? Ruined?" I smiled. News of my demise was greatly exaggerated. He laughed nervously. "I always thought Nathan was a fool," he said quietly. "For what it's worth, I ended our partnership after everything happened. I couldn't work with someone who would do that." I thanked him for his integrity, and we chatted briefly about our respective businesses. As we parted ways, he hesitated. "Nathan's firm is going under," he said. "The bank is foreclosing on your old house next month. I thought you should know." I nodded, unsure how to feel about this information. Part of me wanted to celebrate, to revel in their downfall. But another part, the part that had loved them both, felt only sadness. That night, I sat on the porch of my beautiful Victorian home, sipping wine and watching the sunset. I thought about how far I'd come, about the strength I'd discovered within myself. I thought about forgiveness, not for their sake, but for mine. Holding on to anger would only poison me, would only give them power over my happiness. I decided then that I was ready to let go of the past, not to forget, but to move forward unburdened by resentment. I had won, not by destroying them, but by refusing to let them destroy me. The next morning, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, there was a long pause before a familiar voice spoke. "Harper, it's Nathan." My heart raced, but my voice remained steady. "Hello, Nathan. I don't know if you've heard, but things aren't going well for us. The bank, the house." His voice cracked. "I don't know what to do." "Where's Tessa?" I asked. Another pause. "She left 3 weeks ago, said she needed to find herself, took what little money we had left." History repeating itself. Tessa running when things got hard. Nathan left to pick up the pieces. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I meant it. "Could we meet? Just to talk?" "Please, Harper. I have no right to ask, but I don't know who else to turn to." I considered hanging up. I considered telling him exactly what I thought of him. Instead, I agreed to meet him for coffee the following day. We met at a coffee shop downtown, far from our old neighborhood. I arrived early, choosing a table near the window. When Nathan walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. He looked older, tired, his eyes haunted by regret. His clothes were wrinkled, his hair unkempt. He was a shadow of the confident architect I had married. "Thank you for coming," he said, sliding into the seat across from me. You look incredible, Harper." "Thank you," I replied simply. "What did you want to talk about?" He stared into his coffee cup. "I wanted to apologize for everything. What Tessa and I did to you, it was unforgivable. I know that now. Now that she's left you?" The words came out sharper than I intended. He flinched. "I deserve that. I deserve worse." He looked up, his eyes wet. "I made the biggest mistake of my life, Harper. I was weak and selfish. I told myself you were never going to wake up, that I deserved happiness, that Tessa needed me. But the truth is, I betrayed the only woman who ever truly loved me." I listened, but I felt nothing. The love I'd once felt for him was gone, replaced by a quiet satisfaction. I'd survived the worst thing I could imagine, and I'd come out stronger. This broken man before me held no power over me anymore. "Tessa took what little money we had and disappeared," he continued. "The bank is foreclosing on the house. My firm is bankrupt. I'm going to lose everything." "What do you want from me, Nathan?" I asked directly. He hesitated. "I thought, maybe we could try again. I still love you, Harper. I never stopped. What happened with Tessa was a mistake, the biggest regret of my life." I couldn't help it. I laughed. Not cruelly, but with genuine disbelief. "You're not asking for my forgiveness," I said. "You're asking for a bailout. You want me to save you like I always saved everyone. but I'm not that person anymore. That's not true, he protested weakly. I miss you. I miss us. There is no us, Nathan. There hasn't been since the moment you decided my sister was a suitable replacement while I was fighting for my life. I took a sip of my coffee, calm and collected. I forgive you, but I can't help you. My life has moved on, and so have I. His face crumpled. What am I supposed to do? For the first time I felt a flicker of compassion, not for the man who had betrayed me, but for the human being sitting across from me, lost and afraid. You do what I did, I said gently. You start over. You build something new. You find out who you really are when everything is taken away. I paid for our coffees and left him sitting there, staring after me with a mixture of regret and awe. As I walked to my car, I felt lighter somehow, as if the last chains of my old life had finally fallen away. A few months later, Tessa showed up at my office. My assistant tried to turn her away, but I told her it was okay. Tessa walked in, a ghost of her former self. She was thinner, her eyes hollow, her confidence shattered. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by jeans and a faded t-shirt. Harper, she whispered, her voice breaking. I didn't think you'd see me. Sit down, Tessa, I said, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. She sat, fidgeting with the strap of her worn purse. Your office is beautiful. Your company. I've heard amazing things. You've done so well. What do you want? I asked, not unkindly. She broke down then, sobbing into her hands. I've made such a mess of everything. Nathan, you, my life. I don't know why I do these things. Why I always have to take what isn't mine. I offered her a tissue, waiting as she collected herself. I've been jealous of you my whole life, she finally admitted. You were always so good, so responsible. Everyone respected you. I was just the pretty one, the fun one, nothing substantial. When you had your accident, she swallowed hard. I told myself I deserved a chance at the kind of life you had. The stable husband, the nice house. I convinced myself you would want me to be happy. At my expense? I asked. She shook her head. I was selfish. I've always been selfish. And now I have nothing. No one. I burned every bridge. I studied my sister, the girl I had protected and loved, the woman who had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I should have hated her. Part of me did. But another part recognized the lost, broken person before me. What do you want from me, Tessa? I asked again. A job, she said quietly. Any job. I'll answer phones, make coffee, clean bathrooms. I just need a chance. No one else will hire me. I considered her request. Hiring Tessa would be complicated. My employees knew my story, knew what she had done, but turning her away wouldn't heal either of us. I can offer you an entry-level position, I said finally. Minimum wage, no special treatment. You'll report to my office manager, not to me, and you'll need to earn the respect of every person on my team. Relief flooded her face. Thank you so much. I won't let you down, I promise. This isn't forgiveness, I clarified. This is an opportunity. What you do with it is up to you. She nodded, understanding the distinction. As she stood to leave, she hesitated. Harper, for what it's worth, I am sorry, truly sorry. I nodded. I know. For the first time in years, I saw a glimmer of humility in her eyes. It wasn't enough to erase the past, but it was a start. My parents eventually reached out, asking if we could all have dinner together. I agreed, and we sat around my dining table, the wounds of the past still tender but healing. My father, always a man of few words, surprised me by taking my hand. We failed you, he said simply. When you needed us most, we weren't there. I hope someday you can forgive us. My mother nodded, tears streaming down her face. We were so wrong, Harper, so terribly wrong. I didn't make it easy for them. I told them exactly how their actions had made me feel. Abandoned, betrayed, unvalued. But I also told them I was open to building a new relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation. Tessa proved herself at work, arriving early, staying late, taking on the tasks no one else wanted. My employees were cold to her at first, but her genuine efforts to make amends gradually won them over. She moved into a small apartment, started taking classes at the community college, and for the first time in her life, stood on her own 2 feet. Nathan left town after the foreclosure. I heard he found work with a construction company in another state, starting over as a draftsman. Sometimes I think about him, about the life we planned together, but those thoughts no longer bring pain, just a distant recognition of a path not taken. As for me, Phoenix Medical Consulting continued to thrive. 3 years after starting the company, I was approached by a national healthcare corporation interested in acquiring my business. The offer was substantial, enough money to secure my future and then some. After careful consideration, I accepted, staying on as a consultant while exploring new opportunities. I started a foundation to help accident survivors navigate their recovery, offering financial assistance, career counseling, and emotional support. I named it Second Chance Foundation, a testament to the unexpected gift my tragedy had given me, the chance to discover my true strength. Looking back, I realized the accident was both a curse and a blessing. It forced me to confront the truth about my family, to let go of the people who didn't value me, and to build a life on my own terms. I learned that vindication doesn't always come in the form of revenge. Sometimes it's simply living well, finding happiness in spite of those who tried to break you. They never saw me coming. They never imagined I'd rise from the ashes, stronger and more successful than before. But I did, and I'm grateful every day for the second chance I was given. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: your worst moment doesn't define you. What defines you is what you do next. How you rise, how you rebuild, how you reclaim your power. So if you're in that dark place right now, if you're facing betrayal or loss or a future that looks nothing like you planned, know this: you are stronger than you think. Your story isn't over. The best chapter might be the one you haven't written yet. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Family Karmic Revenge for more stories of triumph over adversity. Share in the comments if you've ever had to reinvent yourself after tragedy. I'd love to hear how you rose from your own ashes. Remember, sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't getting even. It's getting better.